Huzzah and well met once again, you merrymakers and rabble rousers. I hope your holiday celebrations were amongst your loved ones and satisfactory. I hope you had, you know, discipline to not eat too many goodies and Christmas cookies. But, whatever. Christmas cookies are tasty, so whatever, to each their own. And today I have for you the second part of the perfect Allay sorter, where I've gone and extended it because, as I explained in the last video, but we'll touch on right here, if you use only this original setup up to the end of this green, and then try to just extend the water stream and use a repeater to activate the next note blocks, you'll run into a situation where the water doesn't move the items fast enough to stay with the note blocks and with the allay. And so your allay will get confused and they won't pick up the items as they come down the pipe, and you'll just have a not perfect allay sorting system, and that's not what we're building here. So, anyways, to get into how this works, is if you haven't watched the first video, I suggest that you do because I'm not going to recover this. But we have a timing circuit over here that activates both our dropper that puts our items into the water, and I'll show you in a moment about that, and it activates all of the note blocks that the allay will try to pick up items and place near their respective note blocks. As I said, we don't want to just repeat this signal straight over. We need to have a new signal, and this will work. Well, these signals will work independent of the wool, but you need to have the wool there so that our signals don't get crossed, confusing our allay. You use note or wool blocks between note blocks to stop the sound from moving to that direction from the note block. So all we have here is at the very end, anything these allay don't pick up will drop into this hopper, which will immediately be placed into this dropper, facing upward into this dropper, which faces into our water stream for our next set of 8 allay. We choose 8 because that's how far a water stream can go. We actually have one source block here and one source block just to the, the right of it behind this first allay to send the items. But the dropper pushes items out with enough force that they make it to the second source block and onward. It does not work if you place a stair in front of it. The items will be shunt out to one of these sides, depending on where north and south or east and west is in your world and which direction you build this. So, anyways, how does this work? We have a comparator looking into our dropper. Remember, our items will just automatically flow from the hopper into the dropper. And you will see we have the comparator sees that the item is in the dropper. It activates this redstone, which is observed by this observer, sending the signal to this observer, which is observing our first observer, and activates our upper dropper. It also sends this signal on through the redstone to the repeater and across all of our green concrete to activate all of our note blocks. And you'll see none of our allay are tuned to pick up gray wool, so it just made it all the way through. The reason we have a second signal, you heard it ding twice, I assume, is that this turns off, which our observer observes a second time and activates the circuit again. So anything that goes in the hopper goes into the dropper, is pushed up by the first signal, and is expelled by the second signal, or dropped into the water stream. So you can see all of our allay here are already set up to tune, and I can show you, I have this pre-built box full of stuff. We'll set it into here. And you'll see that an item that is picked up by one of our first set of allay does not move along and activate this second set of allay, so we don't have excess activations. Remember I said also we want to put wool between all of our note blocks so we don't get any cross signaling. That bow was picked up by our Allay on the end. I used a generic Monster Farm item table, or at least most of it, to build this. So we have iron gear, we have chainmail gear, we have some leather gear, and we have iron sword shovel, a potion, and oh, this is because the Allay tried to throw that to me instead of to the note block. So if you're too close to your Allay, they will get confused. Or what can happen is I know there were some duplicates in these boxes. If they come too fast because of the randomness of a dropper, your Allay may have trouble. See, this one is because of that. We had 2 helmets get skipped because they came through too quickly. That's just a fact of life with these and with our randomly dropping system. This timer is supposed to help that, but as you can see, it let 2 helmets go right through, no problem. But we got them all that time. So, there is your perfect Allay sorting system, now that this isn't running and confusing each other. We'll do this, and you can see this once more. Just our hopper at the end of our water line. You can, if you really want to, place a button over top to make sure the water doesn't come through. Especially you can do that if you have shorter than 8 as your first set of Allay. Um, it's up to you. It really depends on what you're farming and what you're picking up and why. Uh, so that all comes down to your personal preference. But you can place a button there. It doesn't interfere with anything. And we have buttons back here to activate one individual section of our farms. In case you're Allay grab onto an item but don't throw it for whatever reason, you know it should be there but it's not in the box, or any number of reasons you might just want to manually override something. So, like I said, fill this section up with wool. Make sure you, well, if you have the button there, you won't be able to place wool inside, but don't accidentally block up your hopper with wool and wonder why nothing's getting through. This is generally sufficient, but just because I think it looks more squared off, you can fill this all in as well. So back here I have 2 quick examples. We have how to turn these is you're going to need a few more hoppers, but the circuit remains the same. Your final hopper is going to place into a dropper facing up and a dropper facing into your water stream or your water source, another water source here, and an extended stream. We have it cut off here just because this is for display purposes. And this has the Allay on the inside of your turn. So this takes a bit more wool and more hoppers, but it is exactly the same as far as builds and whatnot. You just extend from the end of your water stream hoppers until you're ready to put them into your next Allay collection system. This one has the Allay on the outside of your turn, so they would be here in this hopper and here in this hopper. Once again, just cutting off the water streams. This one has the added benefit that you can manually activate both sides of the circuit at once, or just this one, which I say that's a benefit. It's kind of just happenstance. But yeah, this has been part 2 of my perfect Allay sorter. Well, I say mine. I found this from somewhere else, and I apologize to the creator of this. I've forgotten where I learned this one and can't give them the credit. But thanks for that. And yeah, once again, I hope your holidays were successful. I hope you had a grand old time. I hope you are blessed on your next quest, and I am off to my next adventure. Not final adventure. That sounds a little ominous. So, yes, off to my next adventure.